You've been told debt is normal. That it's just a part of life like taxes and breathing. But what if that's a lie? What if the system was designed to keep you broke, overwhelmed, and dependent while someone else profits off your struggle? In this audio, we're ripping the mask off the biggest financial scam you've been sold, and once you hear the truth, you'll never see debt the same way again. By the end of this episode, you'll uncover the 3 biggest lies about debt that are keeping you stuck and stressed. The hidden psychology banks and credit systems use to trap you in an endless loop. And most importantly, a clear, step-by-step mindset shift that could set you on a path to freedom, even if you feel hopeless right now. No jargon. No lectures. Just raw truth and a blueprint to finally breathe again financially. If you've ever stared at your bills and wondered, will I ever escape this? Stay with me. Because this could be the turning point you didn't know you were waiting for. Before we dive deep, I need you to do just one thing. Promise yourself you won't tune out early. Because this isn't just another feel-good talk, this is your wake-up call. The next few minutes could be the reason you finally take control. Not just of your debt, but your entire future. So turn off the noise, silence the distractions, and give yourself this moment. You've been surviving long enough. Now it's time to learn how to break free. Debt is more than numbers on a statement, it's a shadow that follows millions silently, shaping decisions, crushing dreams, and fueling daily anxiety. It's not just financial, it's deeply emotional. A quiet weight on your chest. A constant whisper of limitation. But here's the truth, debt survives and thrives on lies. Misconceptions, half-truths, and toxic beliefs keep us locked in a cycle of borrowing, spending, and struggling, while the system profits. These myths aren't accidental, they're woven into our culture, hidden in ads, repeated by experts, and passed down like family traditions. Breaking free begins with one bold step: unmasking the delusion. In this episode, we'll expose what debt really is, how it traps us, and the practical moves you can make starting today to take your power back. At its core, debt is sold as a tool for opportunity. The promise is seductive: borrow now, and you can have the life you want today. A new car, a bigger house, a college degree, or even that dream vacation, all just a swipe of a credit card or a signature on a loan agreement away. The messaging is relentless. Advertisements paint debt as a stepping stone to success, a way to invest in yourself or your future. Financial institutions make it easy, with pre-approved credit cards arriving in the mail and 0% financing deals that seem too good to pass up. Society reinforces the idea that borrowing is normal, even necessary, to keep up with the milestones of adulthood. But this narrative is the first lie of the debt delusion, that borrowing is a harmless, even empowering, way to get ahead. The reality is far less glamorous. Debt is not a neutral tool, it's a transaction with a steep cost. Every dollar borrowed comes with interest, fees, and the invisible burden of obligation. That car loan might get you a shiny new vehicle, but it also locks you into years of payments, often for an asset that loses value the moment you drive it off the lot. Student loans, marketed as an investment in your future, can saddle you with decades of repayments, even as job markets shift and degrees don't guarantee the promised payoff. Credit card debt, so easy to rack up with a few impulsive purchases, can spiral into a trap where minimum payments barely dent the principal, and interest compounds relentlessly. The lie that debt is a shortcut to success ignores the math. Borrowing often leaves you poorer in the long run, not richer. This delusion is compounded by another pervasive myth, that debt is inevitable. From the moment we're old enough to understand money, we're told that certain kinds of debt are just part of life. You need a mortgage to own a home, a car loan to get to work, or student loans to get an education. These are presented as non-negotiable rites of passage, as if there's no other way to build a life. But this mindset traps us into accepting debt as a default, rather than questioning whether we could achieve our goals without it. It's true that some purchases, like a home, may be difficult to make without borrowing, but the assumption that debt is the only path forward ignores alternatives like saving, negotiating, or rethinking what we truly need. The inevitability keeps us from exploring creative solutions and locks us into a system that profits from our dependence. The cultural pressure to borrow is no accident. Debt is big business, and the financial industry has a vested interest in keeping us in its clutches. Banks, credit card companies, and lenders don't just benefit from the interest we pay, they thrive on our inability to break free. The average American household carries over $6,000 in credit card debt, and student loan debt in the United States alone has surpassed $1.7 trillion. These numbers aren't just statistics, they're a testament to a system designed to keep people borrowing. The fine print on loan agreements, the teaser rates that balloon after a few months, the penalties for late payments, all of these are engineered to maximize profit, not to help you get ahead. The delusion here is that financial institutions are on your side, when in reality, their business model depends on your indebtedness. But the lies don't stop with external forces. One of the most insidious delusions comes from within, the belief that we need to borrow to keep up appearances. Consumer culture thrives on comparison, and debt is often the tool we use to bridge the gap between our reality and the lifestyle we're told we should have. Social media amplifies this pressure, showcasing curated lives filled with designer clothes, exotic vacations, and picture-perfect homes. The fear of falling behind, of not measuring up, drives people to borrow for things they can't afford, chasing an illusion of status that never quite satisfies. The new phone, the bigger TV, the luxury handbag, these purchases are often less about personal fulfillment and more about signaling success to others. Yet the debt incurred to maintain this facade only deepens the sense of inadequacy, creating a vicious cycle where we borrow more to feel better, only to feel worse when the bills come due. This cycle is fueled by another lie, that debt is a personal failing, a sign of irresponsibility or lack of discipline. This narrative is pervasive, shaming those who struggle with debt into silence and self-blame. But the truth is that debt is often a systemic issue, not just an individual one. Wages have stagnated for decades while the cost of living, housing, healthcare, education has skyrocketed. For many, borrowing isn't a choice born of extravagance but a necessity to cover basic needs. Medical debt, for example, is a leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States, with millions forced to borrow to cover unexpected healthcare costs. Student loans, once seen as a ticket to upward mobility, have become a lifelong burden for many, as the cost of education outpaces the earning potential of many degrees. The shame of debt keeps people from seeking help or questioning the system, perpetuating the cycle of borrowing and struggle. So how do we break free from these lies and the debt they perpetuate? The first step is to see debt for what it is, not a tool for empowerment, but a trap that benefits those who profit from our repayments. This shift in perspective is crucial, because it challenges the cultural conditioning that normalizes borrowing. Instead of viewing debt as a default, we can start to question whether we need it at all. For some, this might mean rethinking big purchases, like choosing a more affordable home or car that doesn't require years of payments. For others, it could mean prioritizing savings over immediate gratification, building a financial cushion that reduces the need to borrow in emergencies. The next step is to confront the emotional and psychological hold of debt. This means rejecting the pressure to keep up with others and redefining what success looks like. Instead of measuring worth by possessions or appearances, we can focus on financial independence, the ability to live without the constant stress of owing money. This shift isn't easy in a world that bombards us with messages of consumption, but it's liberating. It starts with small choices: unsubscribing from marketing emails, avoiding stores or websites that trigger impulsive spending, and finding contentment in what we already have. Over time, these choices build a mindset that values freedom over fleeting status. Practically speaking, breaking free from debt requires a clear strategy. Start by assessing your current situation. List all your debts: credit cards, student loans, car loans, mortgages, and note their interest rates, minimum payments, and total balances. This can be a sobering exercise, but it's also empowering, because it gives you a clear picture of what you're up against. From there, prioritize paying off high-interest debt first, as these are the most costly over time. The debt snowball method, where you focus on paying off the smallest debt first for quick wins, can build momentum, but the debt avalanche method, which targets the highest interest debt, saves more money in the long run. Choose the approach that feels most motivating, but stick to it consistently. Creating a budget is another critical step. A budget isn't about deprivation, it's about aligning your spending with your priorities. Track your income and expenses to see where your money is going, and look for areas to cut back. Eating out less, canceling unused subscriptions, or shopping second-hand can free up cash to put toward debt repayment. If your income isn't enough to cover both living expenses and debt payments, consider ways to boost your earnings, like taking on a side hustle or negotiating a raise. Even small increases in income can make a big difference when applied directly to debt. For those overwhelmed by debt, professional help can be a lifeline. Nonprofit credit counseling agencies can offer guidance on managing debt, negotiating with creditors, or setting up a debt management plan. Be wary of for-profit debt relief companies, which often charge high fees and make promises they can't keep. If debt feels insurmountable, bankruptcy might be an option, though it's a serious decision with long-term consequences. Consulting a bankruptcy attorney can help you understand whether it's the right path for your situation. One of the most powerful tools for breaking free from debt is building an emergency fund. Unexpected expenses, a car repair, a medical bill, a job loss, are often what push people into debt in the first place. Even a small savings buffer, like $500 or $1,000, can prevent the need to borrow when life throws a curveball. Start by setting aside a small amount each month, even if it's just $20, and treat it as non-negotiable as rent or utilities. Over time, this fund becomes a safety net, reducing your reliance on credit cards or loans. Breaking free from debt also means rethinking your relationship with money. This isn't just about paying off what you owe, it's about building habits that prevent you from falling back into the trap. Learn to delay gratification, saving up for big purchases instead of financing them. Practice saying no to unnecessary expenses, even when the pressure to spend is strong. Surround yourself with people who share your goals, whether it's friends embarking on their own debt-free journey or online communities sharing tips and encouragement. The more you normalize living within your means, the less power the debt delusion has over you. Education is another key to staying debt-free. The more you understand about personal finance, budgeting, interest rates, investing, the less likely you are to fall for the lies that fuel debt. Books, podcasts, and free online resources can teach you how to manage money effectively, without needing to pay for expensive courses or advisors. Knowledge empowers you to make informed choices, whether it's negotiating a lower interest rate on a loan or investing in a retirement account instead of spending on things you don't need. The journey to becoming debt-free is rarely quick or easy, but it's transformative. Paying off debt isn't just about improving your financial situation, it's about reclaiming your freedom. Every payment you make is a step toward a life where your choices aren't dictated by monthly bills or interest rates. It's a life where you can save for the future, pursue your passions, or give generously without the constant weight of owing someone else. The debt delusion tells us that borrowing is the key to happiness, but the truth is the opposite. Real freedom comes from living without debt's chains. This freedom also requires a shift in how we view wealth. Society often equates wealth with possessions, big houses, fancy cars, designer clothes, but these are often the very things that keep us in debt. True wealth is about security and flexibility, having enough saved to weather emergencies, retire comfortably, or take risks like starting a business or changing careers. It's about owning your time and choices, rather than being owned by your obligations. By rejecting the lies that debt is necessary, empowering, or inevitable, we can redefine success on our own terms. The path to breaking free from debt is also a path to self-discovery. It forces you to confront your habits, your values, and the pressures that shape your decisions. It's a chance to ask hard questions. Why do I feel the need to buy things I can't afford? What am I trying to prove, and to whom? What would my life look like if I weren't tethered to monthly payments? These questions aren't just about money, they're about who you are and who you want to be. The answers can guide you toward a life that's not just debt-free, but deeply fulfilling. Ultimately, unmasking the debt delusion is about taking back control. It's about recognizing that the system, advertisers, lenders, societal norms profits from your dependence, and choosing to opt out. It's about seeing through the lies that keep you trapped and building a life where your money serves you, not the other way around. The journey may be challenging, but the reward is a life of clarity, purpose, and true financial freedom. The journey to unmask the debt delusion and break free from its grip is not just a financial undertaking, it's a rebellion against a system that thrives on keeping you tethered to obligations. The lies that perpetuate debt are deeply ingrained, woven into the stories we tell ourselves about success, security, and even self-worth. They are reinforced by a world that equates borrowing with progress and consumption with happiness. But as we peel back these layers of deception, we uncover a path to liberation that is both practical and profoundly transformative. To fully escape the debt trap, we must confront the emotional, cultural, and systemic forces at play, arm ourselves with strategies to dismantle debt, and cultivate a mindset that prioritizes true freedom over fleeting gratification. One of the most pervasive lies fueling the debt delusion is the idea that borrowing is a sign of ambition. We're told that taking on debt shows you're willing to take risks, to invest in yourself, to seize opportunities that others might miss. This narrative is particularly potent when it comes to education. Student loans are marketed as a noble form of debt, a necessary step toward a better future. The pitch is compelling: a college degree will open doors, increase your earning potential, and set you up for a life of prosperity. But the reality is far more complex. While education can be valuable, the cost of a degree has soared far beyond what most graduates can reasonably repay. In the United States, the average student loan borrower owes over $37,000, and many spend decades repaying loans that don't deliver the promised return on investment. The lie that student debt is always a smart choice ignores the fact that not all degrees are created equal, and the job market doesn't always reward credentials with high-paying jobs. This delusion is compounded by the myth that you need a degree to succeed. While higher education can be a path to opportunity, it's not the only one. Trade schools, apprenticeships, entrepreneurship, or self-directed learning can lead to fulfilling, lucrative careers without the burden of six-figure debt. Yet, society often stigmatizes these paths, framing college as the default route to respectability. This pressure pushes young people into borrowing before they've had a chance to explore alternatives or develop financial literacy. The result is a generation burdened by debt they were told was good debt, only to find themselves trapped in jobs they don't love, working to pay off loans rather than building wealth. Another lie that keeps us ensnared is the notion that debt is temporary, a short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. Credit card companies and lenders exploit this by offering low introductory rates or deferred payments, making it seem like you can borrow now and deal with the consequences later. But later often arrives sooner than expected, and with a vengeance. Interest rates climb. Minimum payments barely cover the accruing interest, and what seemed like a manageable loan balloons into a lifelong obligation. Payday loans, for example, prey on those in desperate need of quick cash, charging interest rates that can exceed 400% annually. The promise of temporary relief becomes a trap, as borrowers find themselves taking out new loans to pay off old ones, spiraling deeper into debt. This cycle is particularly insidious because it exploits our human tendency to prioritize the present over the future. Behavioral economists call this present bias, the inclination to value immediate rewards over long-term consequences. Advertisers and lenders know this and design their products to capitalize on it. 0% financing on a new couch. A buy now pay later plan for a wardrobe upgrade? These offers appeal to our desire for instant gratification, masking the true cost of borrowing. The delusion is that we'll figure it out later, that future you will have the means to handle the debt. But future you is often just as strapped, if not more so, as interest compounds and unexpected expenses pile up. The systemic nature of the debt trap adds another layer of complexity. For many, debt isn't a choice but a survival mechanism. In a world where wages haven't kept pace with inflation, and essentials like housing, healthcare, and childcare consume an ever larger share of income, borrowing becomes a way to bridge the gap. Medical debt, for instance, affects millions of Americans, with 1 in 5 households owing money for healthcare costs. Unlike consumer debt, which might stem from discretionary spending, medical debt often comes from unavoidable emergencies: a surgery, a chronic illness, an accident. The lie here is that debt is always a result of poor choices, when in reality, many are forced into it by circumstances beyond their control. This systemic reality makes the shame associated with debt even more toxic, as it blames individuals for problems rooted in a broken system. The emotional toll of debt cannot be overstated. It's not just about numbers on a balance sheet, it's about the stress, anxiety, and sense of failure that come with owing money. Debt can strain relationships, with couples arguing over finances or avoiding the topic altogether. It can erode mental health, as the constant pressure of bills creates a sense of hopelessness. Studies have shown that high levels of debt are linked to depression, anxiety, and even physical health issues like high blood pressure. The delusion that debt is just a financial problem ignores its profound impact on every aspect of life. Breaking free requires addressing not just the dollars and cents, but the emotional weight that keeps us feeling trapped. So how do we dismantle this web of lies and reclaim our financial freedom? The process begins with a radical shift in perspective, seeing debt not as a tool, but as a form of servitude. Every payment you make to a lender is a portion of your future income already spoken for, a piece of your freedom handed over to someone else. This mindset shift is crucial because it reframes borrowing as a last resort, not a first step. It encourages you to question every purchase, every loan, every swipe of a credit card. Do I need this? Can I afford it without borrowing? What am I giving up by taking on this debt? These questions cut through the cultural noise and force you to prioritize your long-term well-being over short-term desires. Once you've shifted your mindset, the next step is to take a hard look at your financial reality. This means facing your debt head-on, without shame or avoidance. Gather all your statements, credit cards, loans, medical bills, and calculate exactly what you owe, to whom, and at what interest rate. This exercise can be daunting, but it's also empowering. Knowledge is the antidote to fear, and understanding the scope of your debt gives you a starting point for action. From there, create a plan to tackle it. The debt avalanche method, where you pay off high-interest debt first, is mathematically optimal, but the debt snowball method, where you start with the smallest balance for quick wins, can provide the psychological boost needed to stay motivated. Choose what works for you, but commit to consistent action. A budget is your roadmap out of debt. It's not about restricting your life, it's about ensuring your money aligns with your goals. Start by tracking your spending for a month to see where your money goes. You might be surprised at how much small expenses like daily coffee or unused subscriptions add up. Redirect that money toward debt repayment. If your budget is tight, look for creative ways to cut costs. Cook at home instead of eating out, negotiate lower rates on bills like internet or insurance, or explore free entertainment options like libraries or community events. Every dollar saved is a dollar you can use to chip away at debt. Increasing your income is another powerful tool. A side hustle, freelancing, tutoring, selling unused items can provide extra cash to throw at your debt. Even small amounts add up over time. If a side hustle isn't feasible, consider asking for a raise, switching to a higher paying job, or investing in skills that boost your earning potential. The key is to channel this extra income directly into debt repayment, rather than letting it get absorbed into lifestyle inflation. This requires discipline, but the reward is accelerating your path to freedom. For those drowning in debt, professional help can make a difference. Nonprofit credit counseling agencies can negotiate with creditors to lower interest rates or create affordable repayment plans. Be cautious of debt settlement companies, which often charge high fees and may damage your credit. If debt is truly unmanageable, bankruptcy might be an option. Chapter 7 or Chapter 13 bankruptcy can provide a fresh start, but they come with serious consequences, like a hit to your credit score and potential asset loss. Consult a bankruptcy attorney to weigh the pros and cons for your situation. Building an emergency fund is a critical step to prevent future debt. Life is unpredictable, and without savings, a single unexpected expense can send you back to borrowing. Aim for a starter fund of $1,000, then gradually build to 3 to 6 months' worth of living expenses. Automate your savings by setting up a direct deposit to a separate account, so you're not tempted to spend it. This fund acts as a buffer, giving you peace of mind and reducing your reliance on credit. Breaking free from debt also means rewiring your relationship with consumption. The debt delusion thrives on the idea that happiness comes from buying things, but true contentment lies elsewhere. Practice gratitude for what you already have, whether it's a safe place to live, supportive relationships, or small joys like a home-cooked meal. Studies show that experiences like spending time with loved ones or pursuing a hobby bring more lasting happiness than material possessions. Redirect your energy toward these non-material sources of fulfillment, and you'll find it easier to resist the urge to spend. Community can be a powerful ally in this journey. Surround yourself with people who share your goal of living debt-free. This might mean joining online forums, attending financial workshops, or simply talking openly with friends about money. These connections provide accountability and inspiration, reminding you that you're not alone. They also counteract the cultural pressure to keep up appearances, offering a space where financial prudence is celebrated, not judged. Education is your shield against falling back into the debt trap. The more you know about personal finance, the less likely you are to be swayed by predatory lenders or shiny marketing. Learn about compound interest, both how it works against you in debt and for you in savings. Understand credit scores, how they're calculated, and how to improve yours. Explore investing, even if it's just a small amount in a low-cost index fund, to build wealth over time. Free resources, blogs, podcasts, library books can provide a wealth of knowledge without adding to your expenses. The psychological shift toward a debt-free life also involves redefining success. Society tells us that wealth is about visible markers, big houses, fancy cars, exotic vacations, but these often come at the cost of financial freedom. True wealth is having enough to live on your terms, without the stress of debt hanging over you. It's the ability to walk away from a toxic job, take a career risk, or retire early because you're not chained to payments. This version of success is quieter, less flashy, but infinitely more rewarding. The systemic forces that perpetuate debt can't be ignored, either. While individual action is crucial, advocating for change can help dismantle the structures that keep people trapped. Support policies that address wage stagnation, make healthcare and education more affordable, or regulate predatory lending practices. Share your story to destigmatize debt and encourage others to seek help. By challenging the system, you contribute to a world where financial freedom is more accessible to everyone. The road to becoming debt-free is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be setbacks, unexpected expenses, moments of temptation, or times when progress feels slow. But every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. Celebrate paying off a credit card, hitting a savings milestone, or sticking to your budget for a month. These wins build momentum and reinforce the habits that lead to lasting change. Ultimately, breaking free from the debt delusion is about more than money. It's about reclaiming your life. It's about waking up without the weight of financial stress, making choices based on what you want, not what you owe. About building a future where your time, energy, and resources are yours to direct. The lies that keep us trapped are powerful, but they're not invincible. By seeing through the delusion, taking practical steps, and cultivating a mindset of freedom, you can break the chains of debt and step into a life of true abundance. If this is hitting home, don't stop now. What comes next isn't just motivation, it's transformation. The real breakthrough is just ahead. The debt delusion is a cunning trap. One that thrives on half-truths and societal pressures, weaving a narrative that keeps us tethered to a cycle of borrowing and repayment. It's a system that profits from our compliance, convincing us that debt is not only normal but necessary, a badge of ambition, a stepping stone to the good life. Yet, as we peel back the layers of this illusion, we uncover a reality that's far less appealing. Debt is not a path to freedom but a chain that limits our choices, saps our resources, and clouds our future. To truly break free, we must go beyond surface-level fixes and dive deep into the psychological, cultural, and systemic forces that perpetuate this cycle, arming ourselves with strategies and a mindset that prioritize lasting independence over fleeting gratification. One of the most seductive lies of the debt delusion is that borrowing is a form of empowerment. We're told that taking on debt is a bold move, a sign that you're seizing control of your destiny. This narrative is particularly potent in the context of entrepreneurship. The image of the scrappy startup founder, maxing out credit cards to launch a business, is romanticized in popular culture. Stories of billionaires who bet on themselves by borrowing heavily feed the myth that debt is a prerequisite for success. But for every rags to riches tale, there are countless others who took similar risks and ended up buried in debt, their dreams crushed under the weight of interest payments. The lie here is that debt fuels ambition, when in reality, it often stifles it. Borrowing to start a business might make sense in some cases, but it's not the only path. Bootstrapping, seeking investors, or starting small and scaling gradually can achieve the same goals without the crushing burden of debt. This myth of empowerment extends to personal purchases as well. The buy now, pay later model, which has exploded in popularity, markets itself as a way to take charge of your finances, offering flexibility to afford what you want without upfront costs. Retailers partner with companies like Affirm or Klarna to let you split purchases into interest-free installments, making that $500 jacket or $2,000 laptop feel within reach. But the fine print tells a different story. Miss a payment, and fees pile up. Overuse the service, and you're juggling multiple payment plans, eroding your financial stability. The delusion is that these schemes give you control, when they often lead to overspending and a fragmented budget, tying you to a treadmill of payments for things you might not even need. Another insidious lie is that debt is a personal choice, free from external influence. This ignores the relentless pressure of consumer culture, which bombards us with messages that equate spending with success. From glossy magazine ads to influencers showcasing luxurious lifestyles, we're conditioned to believe that happiness lies in the next purchase. This pressure is amplified by the fear of missing out, or FOMO, which drives us to borrow to keep pace with peers. A new car to match your neighbors, a destination wedding to rival your friends, a renovated kitchen to post on social media. These choices are less about personal desire and more about societal expectations. The debt delusion convinces us that these purchases are freely chosen, when in reality, they're often a response to a culture that equates material wealth with worth. This cultural trap is particularly devastating for younger generations, who face unique pressures. Millennials and Gen Z are often caught in a perfect storm of economic challenges, stagnant wages, soaring housing costs, and the expectation to maintain a certain lifestyle. Social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok amplify these pressures, showcasing curated lives that seem unattainable without borrowing. The aesthetic lifestyle: minimalist apartments, designer outfits, artisanal coffee comes with a hidden price tag, one that many fund with credit cards or personal loans. The lie is that these purchases are investments in your personal brand, when they're often just expensive props in a performance of success. Breaking free requires rejecting this script, choosing authenticity over appearances, and finding value in experiences that don't require a loan. The systemic roots of the debt delusion run even deeper. For many, debt is not a choice but a necessity born of structural inequalities. In the United States, for example, the racial wealth gap means that Black and Hispanic households are more likely to rely on high-interest loans to cover basic needs, from rent to medical bills. Payday lenders and subprime credit card companies target low-income communities, offering quick cash at exorbitant rates. The lie here is that everyone has equal access to financial stability, when in reality, systemic barriers like discriminatory lending practices and limited access to wealth-building opportunities keep certain groups trapped in debt. Recognizing this reality doesn't absolve personal responsibility, but it highlights the need for systemic change alongside individual action. The psychological grip of debt is another barrier to freedom. Beyond the numbers, debt carries a heavy emotional load: shame, fear, and a sense of being stuck. This emotional weight can paralyze us, making it hard to take action. The lie we tell ourselves is that we're alone in this struggle, that our debt is a unique failure. But debt is a shared experience, with millions grappling with the same pressures. Studies show that financial stress can lead to insomnia, anxiety, and strained relationships, creating a feedback loop where emotional distress makes it harder to manage money effectively. Breaking free requires addressing this emotional toll. Sistine Chapel, whether through therapy, support groups, or simply talking to trusted friends about your journey. So how do we escape this multifaceted trap? The first step is to reject the myths that keep us bound. Start by reframing debt as a liability, not a tool. This means questioning every borrowing decision with a critical eye. Do you need that loan for a new car, or could you buy a used one with cash? Is that expensive degree essential, or could you pursue a cheaper alternative? This mindset shift empowers you to prioritize long-term freedom over short-term convenience. Next, create a concrete plan to tackle existing debt. List all your debts, including balances, interest rates, and minimum payments. Use this data to choose a repayment strategy. The debt avalanche method, paying off high-interest debt first, saves the most money, but the debt snowball method, starting with the smallest balance, can provide motivational wins. Whichever you choose, automate payments to ensure consistency, and throw any extra cash bonuses, tax refunds, side hustle earnings at your debt to accelerate progress. A budget is your foundation for success. Think of it as a tool to align your spending with your values. Use apps like YNAB or Mint to track your expenses, or keep it simple with a spreadsheet. Identify areas to cut back, like dining out or impulse purchases, and redirect those funds to debt repayment. If your budget feels too tight, explore creative solutions, negotiate bills, switch to a cheaper phone plan, or share housing costs with a roommate. Small changes compound over time, freeing up more money for debt. Boosting your income can supercharge your efforts. Side hustles like driving for a rideshare service, tutoring, or selling handmade goods can generate extra cash. If possible, upskill through online courses or certifications to qualify for higher-paying roles. The key is to avoid lifestyle inflation. Don't let your spending rise with your income. Instead, funnel every extra dollar into debt repayment, shrinking your balances faster. For those overwhelmed, professional help can be a game changer. Nonprofit credit counseling agencies, like the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, can negotiate lower interest rates or consolidate payments into a manageable plan. Avoid debt settlement companies, which often overpromise and underdeliver. In extreme cases, bankruptcy might be necessary. Chapter 7 can wipe out most unsecured debts, while Chapter 13 restructures payments over time. Both have long-term impacts, so consult a bankruptcy attorney to explore your options. An emergency fund is your safety net against future debt. Start with a goal of $1,000, then aim for 3 to 6 months of expenses. Set up automatic transfers to a high-yield savings account, treating it like a bill. This fund prevents you from relying on credit cards when life throws surprises, like a broken appliance or medical emergency. Breaking free also means rewiring your relationship with money. Consumer culture pushes instant gratification, but lasting freedom comes from delayed gratification. Practice saying no to non-essential purchases, even when tempted. Replace spending with meaningful activities: hiking, reading, volunteering that cost little but enrich your life. Gratitude practices, like journaling about what you're thankful for, can shift your focus from what you lack to what you have. Community is a vital resource. Connect with others on the same journey through online forums, local meetups, or financial workshops. These spaces offer accountability and inspiration, countering the isolation of debt. Share your goals with trusted friends or family to stay motivated. Normalize open conversations about money to break the stigma and build a support network. Financial education is your armor against the debt delusion. Learn about interest rates, credit scores, and investing through free resources like Khan Academy, podcasts like How to Money, or books like The Millionaire Next Door. Understanding how money works empowers you to make informed decisions, from avoiding high-interest loans to building wealth through compound interest in savings or investments. The journey to debt freedom is also a journey of self-discovery. It forces you to confront your habits, fears, and values. Ask yourself, what drives my spending? Am I seeking approval through purchases? What does financial freedom mean to me? These questions reveal the deeper motivations behind your financial choices, helping you align your actions with your true priorities. Advocating for systemic change is another way to fight the debt delusion. Support policies that address income inequality, regulate predatory lenders, or make education and healthcare more affordable. Share your story to inspire others and challenge the narrative that debt is a personal failure. Collective action can reshape the systems that keep millions trapped. The path to freedom is paved with small victories. Celebrate paying off a loan, saving $100, or sticking to your budget. These milestones build confidence and momentum. Visualize your debt-free future, whether it's traveling without worry, starting a business, or simply sleeping better at night to stay focused. Ultimately, breaking free from the debt delusion is about reclaiming your power. It's about rejecting the lies that debt is empowering, inevitable, or temporary, and building a life where your choices are yours alone. The journey is challenging but transformative, leading to a life of clarity, purpose, and true financial independence. By dismantling the myths, taking practical steps, and cultivating a mindset of freedom, you can escape debt's chains and create a future defined not by what you owe, but by what you can achieve. The debt delusion is a masterfully crafted illusion, one that wraps itself around our lives with promises of ease, opportunity, and status, only to tighten its grip with every payment we make. It's a trap that thrives on our hopes, fears, and desires, convincing us that borrowing is the key to unlocking the life we want. But the truth is far less enticing. Debt is a chain that anchors us to a system that profits from our dependence, limiting our freedom and clouding our future. To break free, we must confront the lies head-on, unravel the psychological and societal forces that keep us trapped, and commit to a path of intentional action and radical self-awareness. The journey is not just about paying off balances, it's about rewriting the story of what it means to live a rich, meaningful life. One of the most insidious lies of the debt delusion is that borrowing is a rite of passage, a necessary step to becoming a real adult. From the moment we leave high school, we're bombarded with messages that tie debt to milestones of maturity: a car loan for your first vehicle, a mortgage for your first home, or student loans for a degree that's supposed to secure your future. This narrative is so pervasive that it feels like there's no alternative, as if opting out of debt means opting out of adulthood itself. But this is a trap. The idea that you need to borrow to prove you've made it ignores the fact that debt often delays true milestones like financial independence, starting a family, or pursuing your passions by tying you to years of repayments. The real rite of passage isn't signing a loan agreement, it's taking control of your finances and building a life on your own terms. This lie is particularly potent in the housing market. Homeownership is sold as the ultimate marker of success, and for many, a mortgage is the only way to achieve it. Real estate agents, lenders, and even well-meaning family members push the idea that renting is throwing money away, while a mortgage is an investment in your future. But this overlooks the hidden costs of homeownership: maintenance, property taxes, insurance, and, most significantly, interest. A 30-year mortgage on a $300,000 home at a 4% interest rate could cost you nearly $200,000 in interest alone over the life of the loan. The delusion is that a mortgage is always a smart financial move, when in reality, renting can be a strategic choice, offering flexibility and freedom from the burdens of debt. For some, saving for a large down payment or buying a smaller home outright might be a better path, but these options are rarely presented as viable in a culture obsessed with owning at any cost. Another lie that keeps us trapped is the notion that debt is a quick fix for life's uncertainties. When faced with a job loss, a medical emergency, or even the pressure to keep up with social expectations, borrowing can seem like the only way out. Credit card companies and predatory lenders exploit this vulnerability, offering instant relief with terms that are anything but forgiving. Payday loans, for example, promise to tide you over until your next paycheck, but their astronomical interest rates, sometimes exceeding 600% annually, can turn a $500 loan into a years-long nightmare. The lie is that these loans are a lifeline, when they're often a noose, tightening with every missed payment. The truth is that true security comes not from borrowing but from building resilience through savings, community support, or creative problem solving. The debt delusion also thrives on our fear of scarcity. We're conditioned to believe that we never have enough, not enough money, time, or status. This scarcity mindset drives us to borrow to fill the gap, whether it's a new outfit to feel confident at work or a bigger house to impress the neighbors. Marketers play on this fear, using phrases like limited time offer or don't miss out to create a sense of urgency. The result is a cycle of consumption where we buy to soothe our insecurities, only to deepen them when the bills arrive. Breaking free requires flipping this mindset, embracing abundance in what we already have. This doesn't mean settling for less, it means redefining enough as a life free from the constant pressure to acquire more. The generational impact of the debt delusion adds another layer of complexity. For younger generations, particularly millennials and Gen Z, debt is often a default state, inherited from a world where economic conditions make financial independence elusive. Skyrocketing tuition costs mean that many start their adult lives with tens of thousands in student loans, while stagnant wages and unaffordable housing force reliance on credit cards or personal loans. The lie here is that this is just how things are, that young people should accept debt as a fact of life. But this normalizes a system that sets up entire generations for financial struggle, diverting their income from wealth building to debt repayment. Challenging this lie means questioning the structures like the cost of education or the inaccessibility of affordable housing that perpetuate this cycle and advocating for change. The emotional and relational toll of debt is another hidden cost. Debt doesn't just strain your bank account, it can fracture marriages, friendships, and family ties. Financial stress is a leading cause of divorce, with couples citing money as a top source of conflict. The shame of debt can lead to secrecy, with partners hiding credit card balances or loans, eroding trust. Even friendships can suffer, as debt limits your ability to socialize or reciprocate generosity. The lie is that debt is a private burden, when in reality, it ripples outward, affecting those closest to you. Breaking free requires open communication, talking honestly with partners, family, or friends about your financial goals and struggles. These conversations can be uncomfortable, but they build accountability and strengthen relationships. So how do we dismantle this complex web and forge a path to freedom? It starts with a fierce commitment to truth, rejecting the lies that debt is empowering, inevitable, or a quick fix. This means cultivating a mindset of skepticism toward borrowing, viewing every loan or credit card swipe as a potential trap. Before taking on debt, ask, is this necessary? Can I achieve this goal another way? What will I sacrifice by borrowing? This clarity empowers you to make decisions that align with your long-term freedom, not short-term desires. A practical plan is essential. Begin by auditing your debts. Create a spreadsheet listing each debt's balance, interest rate, and minimum payment. This exercise, though daunting, transforms vague anxiety into actionable data. From there, choose a repayment strategy. The debt avalanche method, paying off high-interest debt first, minimizes total interest paid, while the debt snowball method, tackling the smallest balance first, builds momentum through quick wins. Automate payments to avoid late fees, and commit any windfalls like tax refunds or bonuses to your debt. Even an extra $50 a month can shave months off your repayment timeline. Your budget is your battle plan. It's not about deprivation but about prioritizing what matters. Use the 50/30/20 rule as a starting point: 50% of income for necessities, housing, food, 30% for wants, entertainment, dining, and 20% for savings and debt repayment. Adjust as needed based on your income and debt load. Track spending with apps like Pocket Guard or a simple notebook, and identify leaks, those small, habitual expenses that add up. Cancel unused subscriptions, brew coffee at home, or carpool to save on gas. These small sacrifices create breathing room to attack your debt. Increasing income is a game changer. A side hustle, whether freelancing, pet sitting, or selling crafts online, can generate hundreds of extra dollars a month. Platforms like Upwork or etc. make it easier than ever to monetize skills or hobbies. If a side hustle isn't feasible, explore raises or job changes. Research shows that switching jobs every few years can boost income significantly more than staying in one role. Use this extra income strategically, directing it straight to debt rather than lifestyle upgrades. For those buried under debt, professional support can be a lifeline. Nonprofit credit counseling agencies can negotiate lower interest rates or consolidate debts into a single payment. Be wary of debt relief companies promising miracles. They often charge hefty fees and deliver little. Bankruptcy, while a last resort, can offer relief for unmanageable debt. Chapter 7 liquidates assets to erase most unsecured debts, while Chapter 13 restructures payments over 3 to 5 years. Both impact your credit for years, so consult a bankruptcy attorney to assess your options. An emergency fund is your shield against future debt. Start small, $500 or $1,000, then aim for 3 to 6 months of expenses. Set up automatic transfers to a high-yield savings account, treating it like a non-negotiable expense. This fund absorbs life's shocks: a flat tire, a medical bill, without forcing you back to credit cards. Studies show that even a modest emergency fund reduces financial stress, giving you confidence to stay the course. Rewiring your relationship with consumption is critical. The debt delusion thrives on impulse buying, fueled by ads and social pressures. Practice the 24-hour rule: wait a day before making non-essential purchases to curb impulsivity. Unfollow social media accounts that trigger spending urges, and replace shopping with low-cost joys like hiking, reading, or hosting game nights. Gratitude practices: writing down 3 things you're thankful for daily can shift your focus from scarcity to abundance, reducing the urge to buy. Community is a powerful ally. Join debt-free groups on platforms like Reddit or local meetups to share tips and encouragement. These spaces normalize frugality and provide accountability. Share your goals with trusted friends or family, creating a support network to cheer you on. Open conversations about money break the taboo, making debt less isolating and more manageable. Financial literacy is your long-term defense. Learn about compound interest, how it works against you in debt and for you in savings. Understand credit scores. Paying on time and keeping credit utilization below 30% boosts your score. Explore investing basics, like low-cost index funds, to grow wealth post-debt. Free resources: YouTube channels like The Financial Diet, books like Your Money or Your Life, or library workshops equip you with knowledge to stay debt-free. Advocacy amplifies your impact. Support policies that tackle root causes of debt, like affordable healthcare, education reform, or stricter regulations on predatory lending. Share your story publicly to inspire others and challenge the stigma of debt. Collective action can shift the systems that keep millions trapped, creating a fairer financial landscape. The journey to debt freedom is a marathon, not a sprint. Celebrate small wins: paying off a card, saving $200, sticking to your budget. Visualize your debt-free life. Maybe it's quitting a toxic job, traveling, or simply living without financial fear. These visions keep you motivated through setbacks. Breaking free from the debt delusion is a radical act of defiance against a system that profits from your dependence. It's about seeing through the lies that debt is empowering, inevitable, or a quick fix, and choosing a path of clarity and control. The process demands sacrifice, discipline, and courage, but the reward is profound: a life where your time, money, and choices are yours alone. By confronting the emotional, cultural, and systemic forces that perpetuate debt, and arming yourself with practical strategies and a mindset of abundance, you can dismantle the chains that bind you. The debt-free life isn't just about zero balances, it's about reclaiming your power, rewriting your story, and building a future defined by freedom, purpose, and true wealth. The journey starts with a single step: the decision to say no to the delusion and yes to a life of your own making. You've made it this far, and that already sets you apart. Most people stay trapped because they never stop to question the system. But not you. Now you know the truth behind the debt delusion, and more importantly, you know the way out. So don't just let this be something you listen to, let it be the spark that changes everything. Share this with someone who's drowning silently because they deserve to breathe again too. Subscribe or follow if you're ready for more raw, real talk that empowers you to take back control. And remember, you weren't born to live in chains. You were meant to live free, and it starts today.